Yeah. Well, let's I guess we'll start. I'll just ask you some questions and stuff.
Yeah. I'll ask you some
Yeah.
questions too.
Good. So, well, why don't you just start off telling us about the new play that you have, Atomic Comic? That's the name of it, right? Atomic Comic,
Yeah, it
Human
is.
Cartoon Fantasia.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a kind of a, it's a really, dare I say this, a kind of new form of theater that marries together, traditional theater narrative with really combustible physical comedy. And so, there's an old saying I remember when I was a young drama student that you're not supposed to mix farce with drama. And guess what? That's all we're doing. But it isn't farce, it's just high physical comedy. Because what I'm really interested in is sort of the expansion of clowning, American clowning, and moving it into this sort of direction of being able to tell stories physically and with all kinds of weird diegetic sound, and where you sort of take the audience into it's almost like a clown dream sequence. It's a high-end physical comedy dream sequence. So a lot of the show is that, but it's very grounded too. We take you back to reality, and then we blast you off into these fantastical sequences that sort of tell the story in a different way, cartoon to more cartoon dimensions. So it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, so you're blending sort of serious drama with this high sort of comic thing that's very physical and clown. I personally love that.
Oh, good.
I there's a TV show called Barry. I don't know if you've seen it on HBO.
Yes,
Okay, and the last season was a lot of that. And my wife hated it. Because it sort of blended, that drama with this strange physicalized bizarreness. I absolutely loved it, but I think it's just, it depends on your own aesthetic, I suppose.
Well, it does. I mean, I remember, my family's favorite movie overall is It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Yeah.
And for good reason, because I mean, every major comedian in the early 1960s was in that film, and all of them were being directed to be as loud and big and ridiculous as they could possibly be. And there are some people who can't take that. They're just, oh, this is ridiculous. And then there's other people, like probably you and I, that we lean into that and go, yeah, like I want to see Ethel Merman scream and tell someone to shut up and do a handstand in a moving car.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of my favorite things to watch when I was a kid was my grandmother and I would watch the Mike Douglas show. And one of my favorite things was Ethel Merman. She was on a lot, and she'd be in the little studio there belting, some Sondheim tune as if she were in a 2,000 seat theater. And it was so absurd and weird. And I loved it. Anyway, I love that stuff. Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, like when we were kids, what did we do? We watched Saturday morning cartoons, right?
Yeah.
And I remember that was my first introduction to what I wanted to do and who I believed I was. And there's a line there's a dialogue in Atomic Comic where the three of us, the three comic/clowns, are talking on a train at night. And we're talking about why we do this and how we were drawn to it. And there's a line where one of the guys says to me, Toby, do that little creature. Remember that psychic in Petaluma told you have a little creature in you that's like this strange little mischievous creature. And it's true. I did have a psychic tell me that I had this little creature with levers going that was up to no good. And I think, everybody has that little creature in them when we're little children. And then as we grow older, it's drummed out of us. We're told over and over, don't do that, or get off the couch.
Yes.
Playing so hard. Don't climb on that. And so we learn, adulting before we need to learn adulting. And that little creature is often quashed or driven out entirely. And I feel like part of my life's mission is to bring that little creature back to life in everybody. Because what's the point of life if you can't play and you can't find the humor, the everyday physical comedy in everything? Because, beating a bowl of cereal is funny. Waiting in a waiting room is funny. You see people in their natural human clumsiness all the time, all over the city. And, I find it charming. We try to be cool. We try to be slick. We're not. Humans are not. We're klutzes. And so amplifying that is the job of the clown and the Atomic Comic. That's the job, is we amplify that and then tell stories that way.
Neat. I love that. I love that. There's I'm doing it again, but there's a TV show called Chimp Empire on Netflix now, and it it examines a troop of chimps up close. They were allowed to get the cameras real close to the chimp because the chimps are so used to people and scientists watching them that didn't bother them. And now whenever I'm with my wife anywhere, I say, look at all the chimps. And now they're trying. And I realize we're just like hairless, uncoordinated chimps.
We really are. No, a friend of mine had this my dear friend Steven Sorrentino, who's a kind of a pretty well-known comic performer, and who has done shows in Vegas and Atlantic City. He's one of those guys, but he came up with this concept of chimp mom disorder, which is very funny, where when your mom's yelling at you, get off the couch and stop doing that, and you put the dishes away, and then they become chimps. So I thought that was very funny, because
it is.
We are like them, and they're like us. And it's kind of fascinating when you think about all the I watch dog and cat videos all day, as much as I can, because I love seeing people interacting with their animals, because there's some serious similarity there.
Yeah
People are like their cats and they are like their dogs.
So what was the inspiration for you to create this?
Well, I think, I went through a spate of really bad stuff back in 2017, and everything sort of went wrong. And it got so wrong that I just was like, well, this is kind of funny, how bad this is. And, I come from a very sort of comic household. My parents were both very ridiculous, funny people, and they loved throwing parties, and they were goofballs. And so, I inherited, I think, luckily, an ability to turn the worst stuff into comedy, and to find those moments, where everything's going to hell, but you suddenly go, well, okay, here it is. Where's the joke? So I took all that stuff and just said, well, I'm gonna write a show about it, because, as the saying goes, today's tragedy is tomorrow's comedy. And I wanted to sort of gift it to myself and to the audience. There's always a way through. There's always a way through. And when you're going through hell, keep going and find a way to keep laughing about it. So I think, in a way, it was a purge, and it was also an exploration of my own love of physical comedy, and how I could turn all that tragic stuff into stuff that was very amplified and funny, and like it's my testimonial to heffalumps and woozles, the world of heffalumps and woozles, where Winnie the Pooh is really scared. It's a scary thing, but it's also really funny.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my impetus. I wanted to find the tragic in the funny, and vice versa.
Well, during these troubled times that we have, I think that's a great idea. And
little did I know, Ray, back then, when my dad died, my relationship crashed, and I got cancer. All of these things I recovered from, maybe the least of it being the loss of my beautiful dad. But within that time frame now, I did the original version of this in 2019. Now, since then, I've lost my mom. My mom died at the top of COVID. And so I kind of folded that into the story. I'm like, well, okay, Mom, I'm sorry you had to go, but now, like Nora Ephron said, you're copy, and you're going into the play. So, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your mom. I know that's hard. Yeah, my parents are getting up there too. So how did you find the courage to embrace difficult topics like this? The loss of a parent, surviving cancer. I know sometimes, like, you say things when you're entertaining or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, why did I do that? How did you find the courage to do this and be so vulnerable and open?
Well, that's a really sweet question, Ray. I think, I've never been able to be anything but transparent. I'm a terrible poker player. Everybody knows what I'm thinking, either from the tone in my voice or the look on my face. I can't hide anything. And again, I was very, very lucky to be raised by two people who encouraged me to run flailing through the house and screaming and jumping off of things. And I started acting as a young kid. So when you start acting really at a young age, you learn how to parlay your vulnerability into creating a character and sharing those emotions through the character to the audience. So I've been doing this for, almost 50 years now. So
I see.
I think it's just it's just something I've always done, and I'm grateful for it because I think it seems to be working out. I mean, maybe not financially, but for the most part, artistically, it's been working out.
Yeah. Well, if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, you can just pretty much write off anything working out financially. I mean, in terms of this industry, unless you're like a newscaster or something. Yeah. So you have a really talented cast. It looks
they're
like.
unbelievable. Yeah, I don't want to talk about me anymore. We should talk about them.
Okay.
I mean, they're incredible. They are I just said this morning to my co-producer, Annie Stewart, I said, this is the best physical comedy I've ever done in my entire career. And that is saying something. The two guys that are my sort of cohort, they're my fellow clowns or atomic comics in the show, are DiMarcello Funes and Colin Johnson, both of whom came to this work in very different ways. DiMarcello, who's known as Cello, is truly a brilliant young guy. He's came up in the Prescott Circus in Oakland, went to the Oakland School for the Arts, and since he was a little kid, he's doing what I did. Like he grew up doing theater and doing circus and doing stuff that makes him naturally amplified, on top of the fact that he's just wildly talented. And Colin Johnson, I sort of plucked him out of Circus Center and said, "You're a clown." And he said, "No, I'm not." I said, "No, you are." And he just blossomed into one of the best physical comedians I've ever seen anywhere. And he's also our soundscape designer. So he's also a theater director. I mean, he directed the Supers for us a few years ago, and he's been with Awesome Theater as their artistic director for many years. But he's got a sense of the cartoon.
Yeah.
Because he's also a filmmaker. And then Sharon Shao, oh my God, I can't believe I got her. I mean, she was Sleeping Beauty in the Christmas Panto at the Presidio Theater, and I was Wanda the Wandering Fairy, and we shared a dressing table. And I just kept peeking over at her and going, there's something very goofy about her, and I don't know if she knows it. And now she's not only brought a tremendous roundedness to this really crazy social worker character, but she has some really standout, amazing moments. She's a singer and she's a guitar player, and we sing a beautiful song together in the show. So everyone is at the top of their game, Ray, and they're really great. And what you want in a show like this is you want everyone. I don't want the audience to have a favorite. I want them to be like, "Oh my God, I love him the best. I love her the best. I love them the best." Because then you have the people on film. You've got George McGuire and Maureen McVeary, who are probably inarguably two of the greatest actors this country's ever seen, and we just happen to have them in the Bay Area. Yeah. And then my real life second mom, Sharon Glass, who plays my crazy therapist on film in the show. So
Sharon Glass from Cagney and Lacey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Burn Notice. She's also every queer person's favorite mom from Queer as Folk. She's Debbie Novotny. So, and she's a great friend. So all of them in this cast, if I were watching the show, I wouldn't know where to look. I'd be overwhelmed by everyone. And then there's me, who's a complete idiot in the middle of all of them. So,
well, I've done quite a bit of work with Colin, and I really enjoyed all the things I did with him. It was a lot of fun. Cool. Yeah, he definitely does have a great sense of physical comedy. That is for sure. Yeah.
Well, it's fun.
I've been able to direct him and act with him, and it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I did not know that. I love it as such a small world, you know?
Yeah. Let's see. So what can the audiences expect? It's like a 70 hour. It's 70 hours. It's a week long. You come every day for an hour. No, it's 70-minute show. There's no intermission?
I think it's going to be closer to 80.
80, okay.
Because we're adding some stuff that's really ridiculous and fun. It is it's a tilt-a-whirl. It's a ride. Yeah. And you know, a lot of American and European clowning involves some measure of audience participation, which I think really most audiences don't enjoy. And I think the best audience participation bits I've seen are when the person is planted. We call that a stooge. Yeah. We don't have any of that. We invite you to come into the theater, pull down the safety bar, you know, sit back and just be transported into this world, this fantastical world of tragicomedy. So it is, I like, that's what we're called, Thrillride Mechanics. Our company's called Thrillride because we feel like we're basically offering audiences thrill rides. We're offering them theatrical thrill rides. So that's what it'll be. The music is great. The lighting is going to be spectacular. And I wanted to sort of mention this because a big influence on this for me was the movie Rocket Man, which was about, of course, the life of Elton John.
Yeah.
I was really struck by that movie and how seamlessly they moved between the narrative, the real story, and these fantasy sequences. And that's like, our show is like that. Like, you have these very grounded moments where you were at a funeral or we're in a hospital, and then the next minute you're being transported into this fantasy sequence about, radiation therapy becomes Shoot the Freak. It becomes the game Shoot the Freak, like on the
Oh my gosh.
Coney Island boardwalk.
Yeah.
We have, a fantasy surgery. It's called Surgery Escape, where, you go through the surgery that I had to have at one point. And it's hysterical. There's a chainsaw in it, I get chased by a chainsaw. So there's all kinds of fantastical things like that. And then, the comedy itself, I think, is really taut and really actually funny.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps when the comedy is funny,
Yeah, that's a plus, as they say. So what is fusion clowning? I read something about that.
Fusion clowning is, I'm so glad, that's so cool that not everybody reads the whole press release, so I appreciate that, right? Fusion clowning is a combination of some of the stuff I just spoke about. It's a combination of amplified or eccentric acting, pure physical comedy, and musical comedy. So it's this fusion of all of these things. Imagine sort of Daffy Duck doing a Sondheim musical on a spaceship with showgirls. It's that kind of thing. I'm trying to bring these different elements together to create something that is as far away from Ronald McDonald as possible.
Okay.
More about the amplified human experience more than anything else.
Yeah. So you're just basically fusing all these different modalities of performance into one and making.
I wish I had said it like that. You said it a lot better than I did.
So the music. Tell me about the music.
Well, we're using it's really like it's more of a soundscape.
Mm-hmm.
We're using a lot of different things and sort of we're fusing those together too. So you're hearing little shades of a popular music that but in these sort of spurts. And I get to sing a little bit. I'm sort of reworking a few lyrics here and there for different songs that I like, and you hear spurts of those. So you hear, little bits of things. But mostly it's like I don't know how to describe it exactly. This is where Colin would really be helpful in this interview. It is almost like a sort of parade of both diegetic sound.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have DiMarcello, who's one of our clowns, is a great Foley artist, and he can sound like a train, and he can musicalize that sound
with his voice.
Yeah.
Oh, so neat.
We've actually tracked him because there's so much movement that we don't want him to have to struggle to make all those sounds while he's in motion. Mm-hmm. So we've tracked. He's part of the track, and then the rest of the track is really it's a lot of sort of fusion of popular music, and then some of it is just sounds that and sound effects that we've woven into them.
Okay.
One of the numbers that's at the end is a number I've been doing for a long time, and I do have the rights to this. Queen of the Night's aria from Mozart's Magic Flute, together with Staying Alive at double speed. So talk about fusion, and it's a wild sort of operatic lip sync act. That is one of the ending numbers of the show. So it's a mishmash of all kinds of interesting sounds and shades of music that you recognize.
Neat.
Yeah.
I'm just really into sound, so I was curious. Was there any original composition, or did you use like your own? Well, Cello, is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, his voice, and then other like either licensed or free to use music, or did you have to create any new compositions?
Well, down the line, I mean, it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But down the line, what I'd really love to see happen, Ray, is I want to have a live band somewhere down the line when I can
Yeah.
have a bigger production. And I want a completely original score. And I would love that score to be written by Rob Reich, who first wrote the score to the Supers and is now out on tour with Circus Bella as their band leader.
Yeah.
So down the line, that's what I want to do. For now, it's just I'm fusing all this stuff together. And it's just an interesting, very fantastical soundscape.
Neat. Yeah. And who did you say did the sound for you?
Colin Johnson.
Colin did.
I
Okay.
mean, he's kind of he's our resident, well, actually our stage manager, Annie Tillis, has also worn a number of hats. All of us are wearing a number of hats.
Yeah.
But Colin is a really brilliant soundscape designer. That's as well as video and film. He's also our filmmaker. So
the jack of all trades.
Yeah, and master of all.
So I'm not sure you'd be able to answer this, but what has been the most rewarding aspect of your career thus far? Is there a particular performance or collaboration or anything?
It's this show.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yes, and the Supers and the next one we're going to do, which is a full-on clown opera, which the Supers was too, which is, basically pantomime and a full musical score, original score. But these two shows, which both got shoehorned in right before the pandemic hit and the lockdown happened, and then everything went dark, and we've all been dark for 3 years. And so getting to reboot this is the highlight of my career. The other thing that I remember and love dearly was getting to tour with Make a Circus. When I first got to California in 1999, that little tiny circus, just going up and down the California coast into parks, and I had this sort of crazy old lady character with a floppy dress and big hiking boots, and there's just nothing like standing on stage or in a ring and having people laugh at you, especially little children. And the thing about this show, Atomic, is not for kids at all. It is a very adult show. There's a lot of profanity in it and a lot of references to all kinds of human experiences. So it's not for anyone really under the age of 15, I would say. But I'm just amazed that we've been able to put this back together and raise the money for it and have it happen the way it's happening, because I do think it's an important piece of theater, and it's a very interesting fusion. Jonathan Moscone, when he came to see the Supers, literally said, "You're creating a whole new form of theater," at least from what we know of this in this country, because the Europeans have been all about pantomime and clown and amplified humans and all that.
Oh yeah.
Time, but we have never embraced that here.
That's mostly what they do there. I mean, I just got back in. It's hard to find like just a regular straight play.
Yeah, they don't do it. Especially
they do, but it's not. It's the minority of the performances. I mean, I went and saw a show in Paris that was a combination. It's this couple. They've been doing this show for 7 years, and it keeps evolving, and it's perfect. It's incredible. It's a mixture of mime and tango.
Oh, that sounds fabulous.
It's incredible.
Wow. You know what I saw when I was in Paris?
What?
I did go to the Moulin Rouge.
Ah, yeah.
I couldn't believe the perfection of it.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, these have to be robots. These people, the whole can number, I can't believe they do 2-3 shows a night sometimes. That's some serious dancing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, they have a completely different thing around all this. I mean, they'll work on something for years and years and years and years until it's absolutely perfect.
Well, and that's the thing I love about the work that I'm getting to do now with this troupe. Thrillride Mechanics is made up of about 20 people. We are a collective. We are a collective of, bouncing fools. And we are really dedicated to the practice of precision physical comedy. And there's another line in the show where I say, my old clown teacher, Paoli Lacey, used to say, it takes 100 hours per minute to create precision physical comedy. 100 hours per minute. And it's actually true. It's really hard to do this and get it right. Yeah. And you have to be willing to just do it over and over and over again. But we're such idiots that we don't mind,
No, it's so true. Yeah. Great. Well, now let's see. The show is playing when and where?
It opens. We preview on Friday, June 30th.
Mhm.
Opening night is Saturday, July 1st. Then it runs July 6th, 7th, and 8th, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday of the following week. So it's
Okay.
only 5 performances.
Uh-oh.
And Sharon Gless will be in town for closing night.
Mhm.
And she will probably be in the lobby the night before on July 7th to sign autographs and meet people and be everyone's queer mama. So yeah, it's, and I wish we could extend the run, but we are at Z Space, which is the most in-demand performance space in the city right now.
Yeah.
There, which is great because we
Yeah.
need them, and it's great to be in there. So we're on the main stage at Z Space, which is 450 Florida Street. It's right in the Mission, Potrero, like right on that line. There's a Starbucks around the corner.
Yeah.
The Right Spot is around the corner, which is a great bar, restaurant, and yeah, and the shows are all at 8 o'clock. That there's tickets on Gold Star. There's also tickets at throughzspace.org. So it's all there. And just help us sell this out. We really want everyone to come. And I really do want some LGBTQ teens to come see this show, because there's so much going on right now with this anti-gay legislation, and I can't believe this ridiculous hysterical fear of drag queens.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, it's really silly. And, my friend Darcy Drollinger just became the nation's first drag laureate. And he and I have talked for so long about that clowning and drag are two sides of the same coin. It comes from the same place. It's the amplified human spirit. That's what it is. And it can happen in so many different ways. So
it's all politics. I mean, they know it's harmless. They know all that. They're just using it as a way to deflect from the real issues. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And it's sad because it's hurting a lot of people.
Well, and the teens are the ones who are in the center of my heart, because I was a queer teen, and I remember, and that was, in the 1980s. So it was a different time period, and it was even more scary in a way, because you really had to be careful who knew about that. But today, I just feel like with the, all the advancements in technology and information and the internet, plus all of this hate speech that's back again, that, as my therapist likes to say, nothing has been the same since November 2016. It's like we've entered this new era of real crassness and people believing that what they believe is the only reality. That's a shame, because what happened to critical thinking? What happened to conversation? What happened to listening to each other and saying, well, why do you believe that? And not having someone flip the board and go, I win, and running away. So I could talk on and on about all this, right? But
we could go on for another hour or two about that. I mean, it's just awful. And this drag queen thing really upsets me.
Me too, because I do drag myself, and I also love.
I've done drag.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And
many people have done drag. It's a great thing. It's a fabulous art form.
And it's so much fun. Oh my gosh.
That's the thing. Like, I feel like we have to have more fun. And that's why I'm really pushing that people come and see this show, because we only have these 5 performances, because it will leave you with a feeling of like, you are one of the ones that are helping. Let's be like what Fred Rogers says, be the people that are helping.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Find your way through, find it through humor, find it through playing, find it through sharing. I mean, part of being an atomic comic is that you're sort of indivisible within your group of comics. I mean, the people in this show are my family. They're my chosen family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's everything, right? That's everything.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest lesson. That's the biggest, that's what this show is coded with. It's coded with that message of like, take your broken heart, make it into art, and do it with your friends. Find your chosen family, whoever they are, and keep them close to you, and make art, make pizzas, make hot fudge sundaes, run through the fields together, go camping, laugh, sing songs, raise guinea pigs, whatever you want.
That's what I'm doing this weekend. I'm going to go camping with my friend from high school and college, and we're going to climb Half Dome.
Oh, wait, you told me about that. That's right. Well, you be careful, Ray.
Well, I did it 9 months ago. It was fine.
Okay, good.
Yes, I'm doing it again. Where are you from originally, Sarah?
Jersey.
Jersey. And then you came out here. Okay.
I'm a very proud Jersey tomato. But I also am I'm very deeply San Francisco. I am to my core, I'm a San Franciscan. I mean, my hometown baseball team was the Phillies, and I like them, but my heart is with the Giants. I'm like,
Yay.
Yeah,
me too. I was born and raised here myself. So
oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I would love to have been born and raised here. Having Jersey in my past makes me gothic,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great talking to you.
It's always great talking
so much.
Are you going to come to the show?
Oh yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, lovely.
Thanks.
Thank you for all this, and I'll come scuttling out after the show and give you a big hug.
Okay, great.
All right. Thanks, Ray.